So Pythagoras was the first true philosopher, and he was the one who actually invented the term philosopher. For him, it meant a lover of wisdom. It comes from the Greek words philo, love, and sophia, wisdom. So what is a philosopher? It is a lover of wisdom. So what did Pythagoras think? Most importantly, he believed in the phrase, all is number, which literally believed that he thought everything in the universe could be expressed as a ratio of two integers, that everything that we understand and see in this world can basically be broken down into number, and that is its ultimate source, is the numbers that lie underneath it. And he actually thought that the number 10 was like the special or sacred number, and thought that it held all of the forces of the universe together. And as when we look at the metric system, we know that the number 10 is incredibly important. It is the basis of most number systems that are used in the world today. So he specifically looked at the first four integers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and when they're added together, they give you the sacred number of 10. Now, does this prove what Pythagoras thought? Probably not, but at least it makes us want to investigate and believe there may have been some rationale for his belief that number is everything in the universe. Okay, some interesting discoveries that he made. First of all, he looked at different theories, and his desire was to take what was practical about mathematics and actually create theories to govern those ideas that were taken from the practical realm to the theoretical realm. So Pythagoras and his followers actually developed 8 mathematical theories that are still in use today. And you probably obviously know the one from algebra and geometry, the Pythagorean theorem. Right? But he discovered that there are all kinds of amazing relationships that numbers make, especially in music. Pythagoras was also one of the first musical theoreticians, and he found out how to develop octaves. He actually worked with the density of bells, their outer shell, so he could make bells play at different octaves and different keys because of the mathematical relationship of how thick the outer shell is. He also found these things called triangular numbers and stated that when we look at triangular numbers, they always create a perfect square. So he looked at the first number in the front there, which is just a single dot, and the square root of 1 is 1. If we add the first triangular number and the second triangular number, 1 and 3, you get 4, which is a perfect square. When we add 3 plus the next triangular number, which is 6, 3 and 6 gives us 9, which is the perfect square of 3. When you take its square root, you get 3. And he noticed that every time you do this, when you add triangular numbers, you always end up with a perfect square. So again, showing us that there is definitely in this world a mathematical relationship with most. What made Pythagoras different? The Milesians were looking for their answers in the physical world. They wanted to find that one arche, that one underlying substance of everything else. Where did Pythagoras look for his answers? He looked up to the heavens, to this unseen, unknown world of mystical numbers. He literally worshipped numbers and developed a cult. The Pythagoreans at one time numbered almost 400 people. And they built a colony, what we might look at today as kind of a monastery dedicated to mathematics. And it was a group of people who literally just lived in isolation, and all they did all day was try to find the numerical underpinnings of the universe. So the Milesians looked for their answers in the physical world, where Pythagoras looked at it in a theoretical realm and looked to it in a world that actually you can't see, you can only think of. So what I would like you to try to do before you come to class tomorrow is see if you can conceptualize that difference in one sentence. Can you write down what is the difference between the Milesians and Pythagoras? Clearly there are a lot of vocabulary that goes with Pythagoras because he's really the philosopher who's going to bend philosophy toward a more theoretical realm of looking at things you cannot see to try to understand the things that you can see. So clearly philosophy is a word that you have to know and have to know its derivative. The cosmos, that there is a perfect order and organization to this universe which is a harmonious whole. Cosmology is the branch of philosophy that studies that origin of the universe. Orphism was this Greek mystery religion, which was basically the foundation of Pythagoras' thought and his religious/mathematical beliefs. A ratio, a numerical relationship between things. proportion, a part as it relates to a whole, basically a fraction. And then what you really have to understand is this beautiful thing called the golden section, or another name for it is phi. And it is a magical number that is found all throughout nature, and you will be investigating this as your project tonight. For homework, you're going to have to find out where the golden section exists in art and architecture and nature and even in the human body, and see just how magical and controlling that number is. Okay, now I need to make a nice little connection for you. In art history, you're going to study the statue called the Doryphorus, and it was sculpted by Polykleitos, who was a Pythagorean. And if you look at that statue, it conforms as perfectly as we can get on this earth to phi. It has that golden ratio built all throughout it, and it's not by accident. What Polykleitos was trying to sculpt was the perfect, virtuous individual. And how did he think he could do that? Because he was a Pythagorean, that individual had to be, all of his body parts had to be perfectly mathematically precise. So again, you're going to hopefully make the connection between Pythagoras and then ultimately Plato to the Doryphorus, because how do we find virtue? How do we find perfection? We can't find it in the physical world, but we can approximate it, and the way that it was approximated in art was the Doryphorus.